Good day, humans. I just wanted to put this little snippet up there. This is a guy, Dr. Richard Allen Miller. He's amazingly knowledgeable about all kinds of stuff. And he's about to explain to you why the water we drink, depending on where we get it from, may not actually be hydrating us. So it's possible that all the people that are dehydrated in this country, it's not actually their fault. Because who knew that just drinking water wasn't enough? You have to not have it in a plastic bottle, which changes the structure of it, and then, much like with all the nature in the Rockies, where the trees are all dying, they're dying because they're drying out. They're drying out because the water that's being rained down on them, that is filled with chemtrail metals, is changing the structure of the water. So even though it's getting rained on, the nature will not accept it as water because it's not recognized as the water. And much like that, our body also doesn't recognize it as water. It doesn't suck it into the bones, and it just leaves it to send it off to the bladder. So here we go.
Moto's intention experiments. I had him on my program, and he was showing me pictures, Rick.
This is crazy. Did you ever see it?
Blasting loud music to ice, and then he'd freeze it, and he'd cut it, and then pretty music, I guess, pleasant music, and it looked gorgeous. How does that work?
Resonance. It has to do with resonant cavity oscillators and the different structures of the water itself.
I mean, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I posted on Facebook yesterday water crystals in snow dancing to the Blue Danube.
Well, what does that do to what happens to us?
Okay, there's an artistic thing out there on tiers where the tier is the same water created from different emotions and has different quantities of salt and other elements. And the easy part, or exclusion zone, is these different things that are in there, like deuterium, whatever, that then the way the water rolls up next to that surface. That's what Pollock was showing. There are certain products where the surface tension increases maximally, so he can have water run up the side of a tellurium bottle because it's tellurium as opposed to plastic. That's why they say you should not be drinking water out of a plastic bottle, because it actually changes the pH of the water. Just the light itself cavitating the water will cause it to drop to 6.8.
That's too low, isn't it?
Yes.
And if you've been paying attention, it is all about pH.
And actually, when I was training SEALs, we used to carry baking soda, where we would put a very small pinch of baking soda in the water we were drinking if we were, in the field, and change the pH to 8.4. At 8.4, the water no longer needs to come out of bone marrow. And that means it doesn't go to the bladder. You are able to assimilate the water because it changes the pH. So pH is related to the different forms of structures of water. Basically, water can be 200 molecules, big clump. As it gets smaller clumps bonding, that would be electrostatic fields and turgor, or electrostatic, how it'll bead up on, water will bead up. That has to do with what surface it touches to and the way certain kinds of ions then move against that surface. And that surface between those two is becoming important, like it did in solid-state physics, where we talked about forbidden zones.
Hold on for a second, Rick. We're at the break.
And of course he cuts him off, because God forbid he's not able to play his 40 seconds of outro music and yap along the way. He just doesn't care about his guests very much. But in any case, I'll leave you with that. Have a beautiful weekend. Remember, baking soda, just a little bit. Don't go overboard. But you have to have a little bit of baking soda in pretty much everything you drink. That's at least water. To raise that pH. I do it every day. I feel awesome. All right. We love you guys. Have a great day. See ya.